Thank you, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here on what is it, a Thursday night? We've done a couple of these now. So I really appreciate the time that you're taking to be here. It is really important. And yeah, it's an important thing that we're all doing. And you are being listened to. We've listened to all the submissions so far, and we hope to have some more after this afternoon's meeting. But yeah, we're just going to get started. So I'm Susie. I'm from Cobalt Engagement. I'm here with my colleagues today. We've got Mia here as well. So if anyone's having any technical problems, there should have been a phone number in the email that you received. So feel free to give Mia a call and she can help troubleshoot any issues that you might be having. Okay, I'm going to start off with an acknowledgement of country. As soon as I sort out my tech. Okay. All right, so I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Gumbanya people, and pay our respects to elders past and present. So you're all lucky enough to be up there on that beautiful land. We were up there earlier this year, Nicole, my colleague, and I, and we just had the most beautiful time. It is such an incredibly beautiful piece of the world. So yeah, really thanking those owners for taking care of it for so long. So a bit of a welcome. So as I mentioned, my name is Susie. I'm here from Cobalt Engagement. I'm joined with Mia and my colleagues. I'd also like to introduce Remy from McGregor Coxall. We have Gemma Stella and Josh Corliss from Bellingen Shire Council and all of you wonderful people who have joined us here tonight. So I don't have to tell you this really, we're all adults, but just to go over everything, we're here to listen to each other. So please try not to speak over each other at question time. There is a little icon that you can use, which has a little hand up signal. And that's a really useful way of knowing that you have a question to ask. If that's too tricky to figure out, you can always just put your hand up. We can see everyone. And that's a lovely way that we'll be able to move the questions around. We respect each other and the facilitator, me. We're going to stay on topic. So while comments are really welcome at the end of this discussion, it's really primarily about questions. We're here to answer your questions tonight to help you record those submissions to go into that final report and be open. We've got lots of different opinions here. They might not all be the same, but you never know. If we all take the time to listen, we might learn something from each other. So the objectives of this session are to explain the objectives, scope, and timeline of the project, to provide an overview of the Draft CBD Master Plan that's currently on exhibition. So Remy from McGregor Coxall will be providing that overview. We're going to explain how to lodge a submission, and that is due by 5 p.m. on the 11th of July. So you've still got a little bit of time, but we really do encourage you to do that. Your voices are really important, and the submissions that you do provide will be included in an independent report that we'll be preparing, and there is still room to change that master plan. So submissions are a really great way that if you're not happy with the report as it stands, or you have something else to add and something that you want to change, then we really do encourage you to write one of those submissions. So I'll explain how to do that a little bit more at the end. And also, yes, after we've had those presentations, there'll be an opportunity for a Q&A. We'll have about 40-minute, half an hour, 40 minutes for questions as long as we get through this quickly. So we should have plenty of time to answer. We will try and finish by 8:15. So we may need to wrap things up a little bit if they're dragging on, because we know people have things to do. Okay, so the project scope. So there are three draft CBD master plans currently on public exhibition. So you can view those in council chambers and also online. The community was consulted in early 2004, and this has informed the development of these draft CBD master plans that will guide the future planning and development of the centres. So I was up there with my colleague Nicole. You probably saw Remy as well. So it was really lovely to see your faces up there, and we just really appreciated the warmth and the excitement and the investment that you all have in your community. And it was just, yeah, it was really lovely to be there and be a part of it. The CBD master plans will provide the short, medium, and long-term strategic framework to guide future investment, upgrades, and improvements in each of the CBDs. So engagement today, I'm not going to read all of this, but you saw us up there. We did the online work. We had online workshops. There was a survey, and we were there in person delivering the workshops, which was really nice to meet you all. I, in particular, really loved the youth workshop that we did up there. I have a background in kids and families programming, and so that was a really special opportunity. We met with 43, I think, young people in the area, mostly from Dorrigo and from Bellingen, and they just had some wonderful ideas. It was really lovely and exciting, and I think you should be really proud of the young people in your community. So yeah, overall, we had 391 people from Bellingen fill in the survey, which is a huge result, and I think just speaks to how invested you all are in your CBD and in your community. The in-person workshop, we had 48 participants over 2 workshops, 7 people in our online workshop. So overall, in the Shire in total, we had 791 people participate in this planning process, which is a huge number. So Bellingen key findings. So there is an engagement report, a very detailed engagement report that is on display along with the CBD master plans that has all of the information that we put together from listening to you all. So this is just very top line. Each of in the engagement reports, we really break down everything that happened in those engagement sessions, along with every single comment. So everything that was said is in that report and has been used to format, to inform what has then gone on to be the CBD master plan. So Bellingen, what we heard is that you want more places to meet. You want more places to sit and stay and connect. Bellingen has the beautiful Bellingen River, and you want more places to connect to that river, and you want that river to connect more to the city. It's a beautiful space. So places to walk around, places to picnic, places to socialize in those spaces. You want to support active transport, so improved and connected walking cycles and paths. Places to play. So we really heard this from the children, but we also heard it from the parents, and business owners and just community members in the town, that there's a lot of young people and we want more places for them to be able to play and meet and participate in the community. Respect locals and welcome visitors. So it's about finding that balance of local needs and the influx of tourists, and safe places for all. So this is mostly to do with the dominance of cars and heavy vehicles within the CBD. So that was seen as a real safety concern, but also just something that I think people don't want to see in the main centre. So yeah, that's another thing that we have considered. But as I say, this is just a very top line. This is all broken down. And this is the information that was used to give to McGregor Coxall, who then used all of your input and all of your thoughts and all of your ideas to create what has now become the master plan. Okay, so this is a bit of a survey. So we're nearly done. So this is what we're up to now. We're up to the draft CBD master plans, which are on exhibition. So you've still got another week or so to get those submissions in. And then we'll, Nicole and I from Cobalt will prepare the independent report of those submissions, which are really important. So as I said before, it's not too late to change and make additions to this report. So those submissions are important and will be inputted into that plan. So we're aiming to have everything finished by August, September. Okay, now I'm just going to hand over to Josh from Council to welcome and take it from there.
Wonderful. So thank you all for coming along tonight. Really appreciate it. From Council's point of view, like we approached the community first for these master plan developments. So we undertook, as was touched on, a whole bunch of engagement way back in February. Seems like ages ago now. So look, I'd really like to think that having listened to everyone first and then gone into the development, that we have sort of reflected the needs and the wants of the community with these master plans. But look, I'd really like to hope that everyone gets on board with, providing submission and tell us whether we've hit the mark or we've missed completely. All of the submissions are read. I'll read sort of every single one of them. So we want to make sure that our community's needs really are reflected through these plans. For council, these plans, they will form a strategic document that we'll use over the next sort of 5, 10, 20 years to guide how we sort of approach project funding and think grant applications and things like that. So they are something that will form, a bit of a backbone, a roadmap of how council approaches our CBDs going forward. So yeah, look, thank you for coming along, and make sure you tell everyone and that you see in the street and things like that, because we want to hear from as many people as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. And now I'm going to hand over to the lovely Remy to go through the master plan.
Great. Thank you, Susie. So hello everyone. Yeah, as others have said, it's really wonderful that you've given up your evening to be here with us. So thank you. And I suppose as by way of introduction, my name is Remy. I'm from McGregor Coxall and I'm an urban designer by trade. Um, and I believe I would have seen, I think, a few of you at some of the workshops early in the year. And then also, I think I have seen one or two of you at a few of the other sessions. So yes, thank you for giving up your time. Susie, if you wouldn't mind flicking to the next slide. I think because we are doing 3 master plans concurrently, it's really important to understand what makes each of these towns unique and what makes them special, I think, from Bellingen's point of view, is yes, the beautiful natural setting that you exist in, the valley setting, and that connection back to water, the Bellingen River, the promised land, creeks, waterholes, places to swim, but also the vibrant community and the culture, the activity that happens in Bellingen through things like music and writers, festivals, arts, culture. And that I think has really set the scene for our understanding, not only of who you are, but also in terms of how we then respond to the kinds of things that you might need into that sort of future 10, 20-year time frame. Next slide, Susie. So what I'm going to do tonight is I won't take too much of your time because I think it's really important that we get to hear from you. But I will run you through, I suppose, a couple of key points in the master plan, just to give you, I suppose, an overview on how to read the document. And then we will have a bit of a chance to talk about how to make a submission and also a Q&A session as well. So I think as Susie mentioned before, there are a couple of points on what we've heard from you, also what we've observed by walking around site and being in that place and really experiencing what it's like. And I think the top line item, so I won't read everything on the slide, but really is around that beautiful river environment and connecting better to the river. It's around safer places and places that prioritize people and the movement of pedestrians over the movement of cars. It's also about better use of the places that you have in the CBD, places like the courthouse, and creating places where the community can gather together in buildings, in public space, and to keep those community and cultural functions alive. Next slide, Susie. So the next piece I wanted to talk about was, and you would have noticed this in the master plan document as well, was the sort of overall vision, but also the key strategies or what we're calling moves that set up Bellingen for the future. So really that is around balancing locals and tourists, sustaining Bellingen's creative culture and creating community first precincts. So we're going to be doing that through transforming Church Street into a pedestrian priority zone. This was, I think, something that we heard really, really strongly from all of you, that this is a project that is really important to everyone's hearts, is a place where Church Street is that gathering place, that central meeting place for many people, and reflecting that in the future design of that space. It's also then about the idea of creating a community-focused precinct around the courthouse that really responds to community needs, cultural functions, and the like, but also creates places that are inclusive for the youth and the kids. That was something that we also heard in particular from the youth workshop, was that Church Street and the courthouse are a special place for them as well, and to make sure that they're included in that space. And then the last one was around strengthening blue and green connections. So when we speak about blue and green grids, what we're really talking about is making sure that places feel cool, shaded, that there's good landscaping, but that also the quality of the water that is moving from the town and down into the river is good quality, that we're respecting the environment that we live in, and we're making sure that we're good custodians of that environment. Next slide, Susie. So you will have also seen the master plan on a page. And what I'd like to talk about here is the fact that this master plan, yes, is within that sort of 20-year time horizon, but there are a couple of key projects that we've gone into a bit more detail on to really bed down what the reality is of these projects, and to give people like Josh in council the ability to then take these forward for future grants or funding, depending on what opportunities are available. Next slide, Susie. Thank you. So with that, we've prepared a couple of more detailed plans around some of those projects that I think are potentially higher priority, may need to kick off sooner, but to give them a bit of reality to make sure that we know that they can work. And these really will set up the future design brief that a future designer will pick up and use, but also give council the ability to apply for funding. So around Church Street and the courthouse, we've considered these places together. And this is about transforming Church Street into a place where people can gather. It's about reducing some of those vehicle access conflicts that we know occur, particularly around that intersection with Hyde Street. It's also then around what we can do with that courthouse building and how that can become a real asset for the community. And then it's looking at the other spaces around the courthouse, how this might all interact to form, I suppose, a significant cultural precinct that can contain a range of uses and activities, places for community meeting spaces, places for art, places for culture, but also places for other sorts of opportunities as well. And within all of this, protecting a natural green setting that overlooks the river and gives you that really beautiful connection back to the Bellingen River, which we all love. And with this, because this is not a detailed design, we really need to give some imagery that talks about the quality and the character of these places that are being envisaged. So you will have also seen some selected images, and this is really to guide what future designers might use to be able to make sure that the spaces really reflect the kind of character of Bellingen in particular, and make sure that those spaces are really suited to their context. So you can see on the right there an image that we think reflects the vibrancy, the ability for some of these places to accommodate things like music festivals, like gathering in public space, and to make sure that it's a place that really suits your needs. Next slide, Susie. Also with that, it's about making sure that youth and children are also accommodated in these spaces, so that we know that there are elements that we can include in future designs that will ensure that there's enough seating so that people can sit and be in public space, but also elements that could be designed to be really playful and to make sure that kids feel welcome in these spaces too. And then you'll also see a precedent there that talks about what we think Church Street might be able to be, which is to be a really lively pedestrian priority zone that, yes, creates more pedestrian focused space, but can accommodate a range of users as well.
Thank you, Amy.
And so that was, I suppose, a really quick overview. So I think, yeah, we'll take any questions now.
Sorry, I was just really enjoying it, and I just was abruptly came to an end.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Great, such wonderful ideas. Okay, so we're just going to throw open the floor for question time now. I can't see anyone. Can everybody? Is everybody there? Okay, John. John, you put your hand up there. Hi, John. Welcome back.
Well, I thought somebody better start. Yeah, I'm looking at the location of the skate park down on the riverside. I think you need to be very careful with your location there that it doesn't interfere, because I assume there's going to be connectivity between the terminus of Church Street and the parking and the walkways and you know, the footpaths and the walk along the riverbank. If you look at the moment, it seems to be sitting directly at the base where you would logically expect access up and down to be. I would think it would be possibly better sited to the left, upriver. It can be adjacent to the access to Church Street, but it doesn't need to interfere with it. Is that a valid point, do you think?
Is that something maybe Remy that you could expand on?
Look, I'll jump in there, John.
Yep.
It is a valid point. There is an existing set of stairs that does sneak down there behind the skate park, but it's yeah, look, it's something we definitely consider as we're sort of developing the skate park further.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Does anybody else have a question or a comment to share? Hey, you just did too good a job, Remy. There's just no questions.
All right.
All right, go, John. Take the floor.
That's okay. Right. The difficulty we have with Bellow, which came out repeatedly in the other ones, was the fact that Hyde Street is Waterfall Way, and it's going bisecting the entire the CBD.
Mhm.
We have a development up at Dorrigo with projected visitor numbers that are looking to put approximately another 700 vehicle movements through Bellow per diem. Now, that will vary because obviously the bulk of the traffic will be seasonal. So in a sense, at the high season, you could be having another 1,400, and that's just one way. I've done well. I divided by 365 just to get the per diem figure for a rough thing. You have to make some allowances for that, and it stresses how important the diversion of traffic at Dorrigo is onto and creating that new road, which I now am advised is better through Cascade from the Dorrigo consultation. It's absolutely critical for Bellow and Hyde Street and the use that we can make of it for our town.
Yeah, this did come up a lot in the engagement session. So I know it's something that that we have been thinking a lot. Remy, is that, do you think, a question that you can answer? Is this more sort of, Josh, a question for you? I know roads are a tricky one.
Yeah, no, that's right. I'm happy to jump in again. Yeah, look, like council, we're very aware of the sort of increasing traffic volumes that do go through Hyde Street, and continual development on the plateau is only going to exacerbate that. We're sort of constantly advocating with Transport for New South Wales for development of an alternative route to Dorrigo, but for anyone who's driven that back road anytime recently, there's a lot of money to be spent there to bring it up to any sort of standard. So as always, it's just a question of dollars and cents, and yeah, look, maybe eventually we'll get there, but unfortunately, I don't believe that'll be a short-term thing.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, John.
Yeah. I can go with another one if there's nobody else.
Go for it.
Parking, another bet noir of Bellow. There simply isn't enough physical space available. And if you're looking at developing the Telstra car park and Church Street as you are, you're significantly reducing the volume of car parking that's available, not only to locals, but to visitors. And I can only see that a park and ride has to be considered as a serious option. Council has recently put in a very good link, connectivity between the butter factory and the town. I can't see anywhere else for a park and ride to be located other than the butter factory or that vicinity. There is some land that I wouldn't doubt could be negotiated in that vicinity to make the space available. You can just have a bus on a rotational basis. You have the turnaround at the top of Hyde Street with the War Memorial. It's perfect thing to drive up one side and turn at the top and come back down again. I don't think the businesses in the butter factory would be too upset about having a park and ride there. and I'm sure that the traders in Bellow would be more than happy to have people being brought up from down there and dropped off at nominated stops in Hyde Street. And at least you're going to take some of the pressure off the town. There will be a cost, but that cost can be offset. I mean, would it be unreasonable to look for a $5 a week or $10 a week from each of the businesses to put in a pot or something like that? There's other, or council match it dollar for dollar, or, you know, there can be creative ways of funding this because of its essential usefulness to the commercial life of the town.
I'm going to hand this one back to you again, Josh, I think.
Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll mute myself. Yeah, look, a park and ride is certainly something that came up a lot during the initial consultation, and it was something that between Council and McGregor Coxall we did throw back and forth a little bit. Realistically, at the moment, it's probably not something that Council has the appetite to get into. The cost of it probably is quite a bit more than people would realistically think once you're sort of employing someone to drive back and forth up and down Waterfall Way continually. Look, in terms of the master plan and any proposed changes to that parking within that sort of that courthouse precinct and in other areas, like Council will always look to offset that through the addition of, you know, sort of more formalised parking in Oak Street and William Street and things like that, as well as sort of some wayfinding to sort of highlight the areas that parking does exist now that it's underutilised. So yeah, look, it's something that may happen down the line, but probably not in the short term in terms of a park and ride. But look, I dare say we would look to sort of provide additional sort of small scale increases where we can within our existing road network and things like that. Yeah, it's parking in Bellingen is a bit of a tough one, and that's where I think definitely if we can try and create spaces that are much more pedestrian and sort of active transport friendly, we can try and reduce some of that burden. But yeah, look, it's something that's we as a community are always going to struggle with, I think.
Thanks, John.
But this is a 20-year plan, and you know, if something like that is included in the plan, we're not talking about doing it next week, next year, or in 5 years. If it's there, it can then be brought forward to suit. Where if it's excluded, you then have another struggle. You have another hoop to jump through, don't you?
Yeah, well, look, I think for the master plan, like the master plan is very sort of infrastructure type heavy. The bones of a park and ride in terms of the bus stops and things like that are all there. Should council ever make that decision, I don't think not being nominated directly within this master plan would ever stop that. And look, you know, council's never going to stand in the way of a private enterprise undertaking something similar to that. Yeah, look, who knows?
Thanks, Josh. Joe, I can see you there. Are you still cooking dinner? No, maybe she's walked away. I think we've lost a few people. Dinner time. That might be it for today. John, did you have any other final thoughts? I also would just really encourage you at this point. You've had so many wonderful ideas to really make sure that you do get all of those points down into submissions. These sessions have been recorded, but the best way to make sure your voice is heard is really to put them in a submission. So they are due, like I said before, by 5 p.m. on the 11th of July. So there's a QR code here, or otherwise you can go to the council's website. So if you just search in Bellingen Council, have your say, master plan, any of those things, you'll find it. So you can do it online, or you can also email it. And they're very friendly at council, as you can see. So they'll be happy to answer any of your questions as well. And please share to anyone that wasn't able to make it today. Encourage everyone to go and look at those documents and really have their voice heard. Are there any final questions or any final thoughts before we wrap up? And we've got a bit of an early mark today.
Yeah, well,
John,
I can go and
keep going.
sorry
If
for
you still
being
have things
dominant, but
no, of course, John. We're here to listen. So
hmm.
please, if you have more
Well,
things to say, then go
I'm
for it.
particularly interested in streetscape. I did mention it at the Dorrigo one for the shading and other things, but here in Bello we do have a heritage streetscape, which is of relevance, and I think that we could usefully add to it. In fact, council has made some steps in that direction, because it's part. I go to this marketing for not only the area but specifically for Bello town as a botanic town. We have the heritage from Dr. George Hewitt, and even before then there was a connection at the founding of Bellingen between I can't remember the chap's name and the botanical gardens in Sydney. So we have a heritage that I think we could usefully add to and utilize as a promotion vehicle, and it will also add to the attractiveness of the town for residents as well. It just seems a no-brainer to me with what we have, the botanical resources that we have in this area, that we should utilize them well within our townscape.
Remy, is that maybe one that you want to speak to?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, thank you for that comment. The heritage character and quality, particularly of some of those buildings in Bellingen, is really beautiful, and it's absolutely something that we think needs to be respected, maintained, make sure that we keep all of those buildings in really good nick, because it does reflect on, I suppose, the brand identity and the face of town. And I think if you flick to the back section of the master plan, you'll see that it is one of the items on the action list. I suppose in terms of other streetscape elements, things like improved street greening for shade, all those sorts of things are in there, and it will just be a case of I suppose your ideas around that idea of a sort of botanic shire that can all come in at, I suppose, a detailed design stage, and we get around to looking at the planting and the species, and have a landscape architect come in and assist council with designing some of those interventions. But yeah, it's a fantastic idea, so thank you.
Yeah, I was particularly focusing on the living, not the built environment. We have William Street with the jacarandas. There's a couple of other streets, the one that George Hewitt actually lived in. Can't pull the name to it, Ford Street, one of somebody. Anyway, it's down there, and there's actually a Hewitt Park in town, which has got specimen trees in it, which last time I had a look were being abused a bit, but that was where I'm looking at. I mean, in the Yeronga plan, you've got the Fig Tree Plaza concept.
Yes.
Well, let's expand that to cover an urban area.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. That's I think something new that we've heard. So absolutely, that would be the kind of thing that we'd really encourage you to get into a submission, because that will help us in terms of the sorts of amendments we might make once exhibition is over.
Thank you. Well, look, I might wrap it up. I think, John, like I said, you've had so many wonderful ideas, and I'm sure you'll keep thinking of them as time goes on. You've still got another week. So please do put all of your wonderful thoughts into that document. That is the best place to have them heard and shared. So thank you again, John. And thank you 3 nights in a row. It's been a real pleasure to have you. You've had so many thoughts. You can tell that you're very invested and are a really wonderful part of the community. So we really appreciate your time, John. And Joe, I hope your dinner was lovely. I think you've walked away. It must be so delicious. But thank you for being here anyway.
I appreciate your time as well.
Oh, no worries. Thanks, John. Remy, John, Gemma, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up? No? Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you. I've really loved being a part of the project off to the side. So yeah, thank you everyone for your time. And all the best with the report.